Yeah, baby.
Oh, yes!
Yeah, baby.
This is the Sport Fishing Championship.
Not only is it the Sport Fishing Championship, it is the Sport Fishing Championship. Welcome to our first stop of the inaugural year of the Sport Fishing Championship from Venice and Grand Isle, Louisiana. It's going to be a big day, the second day of competition, and you're going to be with us live for the next hour or so. Robbie Floyd and Peter Miller here with you on site in our SFC studios, and big things are about to happen in the Gulf Coast.
I'll tell you what, we're excited for these events to kick off. We've got 11 tournaments, and we couldn't be more excited to show them to you.
5 different billfish we'll be covering, as well as 3 different championship fish we'll be talking about, but everyone looking for that elusive billfish. This is the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic. Stop number 1 of 11 of the Sport Fishing Championship. 2 different avenues that they can take off from. Again, Hurricane Hole. It is beautiful, Peter. You've been here before. You've seen it, but it probably doesn't look like you'd seen it before because it's all brand new. Hurricane Ida came through that area, devastated it, and they built it back up bigger and better.
You're right. We were there, and it looked beautiful, and now I see it, and it looks like it was knocked down and put back up. These people are resilient, and they rebuilt, and they're ready to go.
It was about a party yesterday. The atmosphere, especially the day before, that evening, it's about having a good time prior to the event. But when it comes game time, we saw the crews rigging, preparing, heading out, and now it's game time. It's just like a football game. All's fun the day before, but when it's game day, you better put that face on.
Oh, the preparation is intense for these tournaments. Sometimes it takes months to get this stuff ready, and when it's game time, boy, everyone puts on their game face, and it's go time. These guys leave the dock, and they don't come back for days.
You see that little area right there on the back of the boat. We'll be talking about that. Peter's here on site all day and all of our stops, and we'll get to the breakdown, the understanding of what tournament bill fishing is all about. And we'll have 8 different boats covered during this event, bringing back and forth footage from what happened from the day before and currently that day. And we'll try and bring everything to you as quick as possible. Again, some of these shots will be live. We'll talk to the Gale Force twins. But, Peter, let's talk about the Sport Fishing Championship and what it's all about. 11 events in total, 2 divisions, the Gulf and the Atlantic. You have to fish at least 3 events minimum, and the top 20 teams receive points at each one of those events. But, again, the more fishing events you go to, the more chances you have of winning that $1 million prize at the end of the championship. Everybody wants to head to Puerto Rico with a chance, and they want to leave Puerto Rico with a big, fat wallet. $1 million. Welcome, everyone, inside our SFC studios. I'm Robbie Floyd, and welcome, Peter Miller.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Been watching you for years on the camera, but that's been out there, doing your duties out there on the water. Dude, it's a different world inside a studio. I know you're probably hating that you're not out there right now.
Well, you're right. Doing my duties. I never heard it, said like that, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. And this is kind of what I've been doing my whole life, fishing for billfish, swordfish, sailfish, spearfish, marlin, you name it, all the species, except for the black marlin. I haven't found that one yet, but I'm excited to be here with you. Sport Fishing Championship, $1 million winner at the end of all these tournaments. It's very, very exciting stuff.
Let's break it down for the fans out there tuning in for the first time. 2 different divisions. We talked about the Gulf as well as the Atlantic. We're staying away from that right side for the most part. Let's talk about the bottom side of this picture. Gulf Division, 5 different stops kicking off this weekend in Venice and Grand Isle, Louisiana. Sportsman's paradise, Louisiana is. You take off from here, you can catch a variety, but everything is centered around these platforms and oil rigs. That is the basis. That's where the bait fish are held. That's where a lot of these fish are going to hang out. Last year, looking at the results, 18 blue marlin, and again, a limited field. Coronavirus has taken its toll on sport fishing, but 18 blue marlin, 15 yellowfin tuna. Last year's championship, you still had a good number of marlin out there.
You're not kidding. And these oil rigs, they hang with all the fish are around the base of these oil rigs. So you see the boat here cruising around there, and they are catching live bait to be able to deploy for the giant marlin.
We move on to the next stop. That'll be at the end of May, the Gulf Coast Masters. This is a massive event. I've been there with my kids for baseball tournaments, and when this event comes to town, watch out. You get your restaurants early, but once everybody hits the water, it's safe. That's the time to go hit the restaurants. It's massive.
These guys are heading out in these big boats looking to bring those big marlin in through the door. I mean, that's a big fish when you can't bring it in over the side.
Started back in 1966. Sunrise taking the championship last year. We'll see if they can do the same this year, 114 grand. That pales in comparison to the SFC total, possibly. Again, you got to fish 3 different events. We move on to Biloxi, Mississippi, established back in 1996. Biloxi, this is known as a gambler's paradise for those down on the Gulf Coast. You can roll the dice at night and then head out on the waters the next day, and it just takes time. How much time do these guys have to catch those blue marlin? Because they're all going to be fighting for the same waters.
Yeah, look at this check right here for $480-something thousand. I mean, that is some prize money right there. It's not the $1 million that we're offering, but that is quite a prize.
Look at these numbers, though. I mean, you're talking about high numbers of swordfish as well as the yellowfin tuna, but 24 blue marlins, 7 whites, and again, discrepancy in size, discrepancy in points. We'll break down the points in just a bit. We move on from Biloxi to Miramar, Florida. We're up in the Panhandle, the west coast of Florida. We'll see the other side in a bit, but again, west coast of Florida, you take off, you know the numbers are there, and if you want to see a shotgun start, that's a shotgun start. I don't know that I would want to be in that mix personally.
You don't want to lose power when that thing starts.
No,
you want to be underway and you want to be moving, otherwise you're going to get tossed over.
And if you catch the most, you will be walking in high cotton just like they did last year. You see what I went there? You see how that went?
I did.
And look at the numbers of blue marlin and white marlin. 50-plus marlin caught in this tournament alone. Again, a variety of species. The marlin, the sailfish, those are in our billfish category. The mahi-mahi, the yellowfin tuna, and the wahoo, they'll be in our championship fish category. And the South Padre Island event, the final stop, we will crown a champion, and also with it, a $100,000 prize for both the Gulf and the Atlantic champion. You know, talking to, I think it was Matt Klosterman before the event, we might actually get Matt here on the show today. You don't have to make a far run at South Padre Island to catch some of these big fish.
That's right. The drop-off's a lot closer, so they get out there a lot faster. They can enjoy it.
And one of our oldest tournaments on board, established in 1933. Again, those are your Gulf Coast divisions and or the Gulf Coast competitions inside that division. And the waters we're dealing with today, and we see those perimeter rings, and 200 miles, that's a long way. But if you're going 400 miles, you got to prepare. All this is done at least that day or night before. You've got to have a plan.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys are using fuel bladders, and they're bringing extra fuel on board to get to these locations. Otherwise, they'd never make it in and out, you know?
Yeah, and each one of these areas, we won't show you the exact spots that they're at. The anglers don't necessarily know that, but we will show you the areas that they are. And these are our 8 cameras that are out on the water from Rebecca all the way around to the rising sun, deep suns. These are the cameras that we'll have, and we're back and forth with this footage. It's not easy. Technology, we're going to catch up to where we can get it live on the spot. And if they are close enough to some of the cell towers and things like that, we can do that. But one of our boats in particular, we got some coverage, and right when we went off air yesterday, we heard that Bandito was hooked up. It was our very first whack of the day, if you will, and they had one on the line. Did they keep it? That'll be the big question. Again, you see what they're working with, and they're around other vessels on the water as well. But Bandito, they were our first hookup of the tournament. Let's find out how things went down with Team Bandito.
He's on this side! He's on! He's right behind you!
All right, hold on. I see, we see him in blue. It's a blue, it's a blue.
He's a big one! Come on, it's a trap! Bring it off! Bring that short in!
Bring the short in some.
He's on the corner! He's on the corner! Yeah, I know. He's on it, baby!
Let him eat, let him eat, let him eat.
Right behind the boat! He's on it, Peter! He's on it! We got it! Drop it off, don't worry. There he is, right there on the shore! No. What do y'all want? Let's get it there. Wait for it. He's right on the shore. He's on the shore. Don't reel it. Leave it. He's gonna get it, Corky.
He's eating it, he's eating it, he's eating it now.
He is all over them. Reel it. All right, stop it. Stop. He's still on.
He's on the shore.
Get a crank, Corky. Get ready.
Why are we not feeding line bait back to him, or bait back to him?
Clips on these, not a reel.
lost him. He's still there. He's on there. He's out. He's on the left rigger. He's on it. He's on. He's on. Get that teaser in. He's not on now. He's not on. He's not on. He's still on. He's still on the long. He's on the long.
We got his ass.
All right, he's on. He's on. Let's clear. All right, clear.
Keep going, Chad.
He's on.
Hit the teaser. Hit the teaser. Keep going, Chad. Come on. We're off.
Still on, Court?
Come on, guys. We got to do better.
God, how we missed him?
Wow. Captain Chad Solomon and crew are brokenhearted there. That was our first strike of the tournament. I said whack earlier. Either way, you're looking at that bait. They're seeing him hit it, lose it, come back and get it. Those are the heartbreaking moments, and they had several chances, it looked like.
I'm trying to still catch my breath from watching that footage, to be honest with you. It feels like I was right there in the cockpit of that boat. You can tell that these marlin are angry. They want to kill and stun everything that they see. And when they go from bait to bait to bait to bait, I honestly don't think I've ever seen a marlin hit that many times behind a boat. That was absolutely incredible. He's on the short, he's on the long, he's on the right, he's on the left, he's right down the middle. He's on, he's off, he's on, he's off. Then he's on, and he's jumping, and he's out there, and then he finally came off. This was an incredible moment for these guys. You know, they work all week, all month, all year to get to this tournament, put out all their baits, spend all their money, put all their money into the tournament, get on live TV, and this is it. And the fish bites 600 times and finally gets hooked and comes off. And it's a heartbreaker. But I tell you what, it gives them that incentive to go back out there and put him back out. And hopefully their team leader can encourage everybody. And you heard him say, hey, guys, we can do better. We need to do better. And, you know, sometimes
that's the head coach, right? I mean, he's the guy on the sideline trying to pick up his team at that point. Maybe it's the quarterback, however you want to look at a head coach. And there's a few of those. But the heartbreak at that point, and the thing is, yes, it's a first catch. But in the SFC, that first catch means something. It's an extra 100 points. If that were a blue marlin, instead of it being the typical 350 points, it's 450 points. So that's even more important. It's like catching a fish and a half.
It's a lot of pressure, Robbie. You really want that fish to come in. You know, you want that fish to come in and get hooked up, and you want to get that fish to the boat as fast as possible. And in this tournament, what you need to do is either reel the swivel to the tip of the rod, or you touch the leader, and it counts as a catch.
Again, you want to catch them as fast as possible. When you're talking about that first fish of the tournament, that first blue marlin, you can take a little time. If you know you're the first one, you got to get it in. Out there makes no difference. You got to get it up to that point and consider it a legal catch. But what a way to kick off our day here. We hope to show you more on the Sport Fishing Championship. We're going to break down the Atlantic Division and the different stops of that as well. We're going to crown a champion both in the Atlantic and Gulf, but their overall champion. $1 million is on the line, and it all starts this weekend in Grand Island, Venice. Stick with us.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in, plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about!
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
It all comes back to the water. This binding agent, this fluid history of connection. Past, present, and future, all tied together through this never-ending, unwavering force. We belong to a community of seekers, anglers, and everyone in between. For us, it's more than fishing, much more. It's who we are, who we were, and who we aspire to be. We are Smith.
SFC coverage of the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic is brought to you by Salt Life, Seaholm Watches, and by Smith Optics.
Each and every week of the SFC tournaments, we are living the salt life, and we are here in Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic for the first stop of 11. Grand Isle and Venice as they took off yesterday from Hurricane Hole, a beautiful sight. The anglers talked about how cool it was, how new it was, how nice it was. Beds hadn't even been slept in before. But now they're sleeping in familiar confines out there on the water. The playing field that we're dealing with in the Gulf Coast, it's expansive from left to right, from Texas all the way to Florida, however far you want to run. And again, they're dealing with oil rigs, oil platforms. That's not a toy boat. That is just the enormity of these platforms that are out there in the open waters.
And they are fish raisers. And we're going to be taking a look at Team All In.
Yeah, All In's one of the boats of our 8 boats that we have in our field that we'll be covering with cameras. Badonkadonk, Rebel, Fog, Crawgator. These are the teams that we'll be covering, we'll be getting full footage in from. But All In yesterday, you see the general areas that they're in. We're not giving you the exact spots, but All In, they got a strike yesterday, just like we saw earlier with Bandito. We want to show you everything we can, but Captain Blake Bridges, Noah Miller, and the rest of the crew, whenever you get that hit, oftentimes you don't know what's on the other end of the line, Peter, and that's what we were dealing with All In. And again, the preparation, the stuff that they're doing, we heard the other boat talking about teasers and you know, different things that are in the water trying to attract these big fish.
Yeah, it's really important to be armed with absolutely everything when you go out there, and they have it all. I mean,
even your Lucky Charms.
Yep, he's got his Lucky Charms. There was always after me Lucky Charms. Hey, we got some more fans, not just watching online, but on the platforms as well. Yeah, that's some extra benefit for that job.
Now, you know, I don't get to go out offshore fishing very often, but I just want to be the bait catcher. That's exactly what they're doing right there. This is what I need to be doing. I could be that guy.
And you see how they treat that bait? They got a rubber-coated net. They don't really touch it too much, and they get it right in those bait tubes, and those baits will stay perfectly fit for the entire day, better than they would in any kind of bait well you could ever imagine, because they get oxygen pumping through their gills. And now you see All In hooked up next to one of the rigs.
They literally are all in, and again, these are the ratio, the gear ratio for these reels, unbelievable. Looking at yesterday's coverage, and I mean, that's like a winch. I mean, there's something on the end, and it's something pretty darn big, Peter.
Yeah, and if that was a big marlin, you'd be squatting that fish. You'd be sliding forward and then pumping back and then going forward to take up that slack. And you can tell he's fighting a fish, but it's not going absolutely crazy. So he's kind of winching it in at this point, doing like little pumps. But his bait tubes are overflowing. He's got a fish on. I don't think they know what it is at this point, but it's very exciting. You can see the drag, the blue tape on the drag. That's where they set their numbers so they know where to push the drag based on the fish. Once the fish has jumped out and they're tired, oh, here they go. They're on the leader here. They're working the leader. Got the leader man on there. Taking wraps.
We're looking at the wrong species. And that's why they were trying to get it up as quick as they possibly could and didn't really care. This is not a points-paying fish. This is a shark of some sort.
That's a big shark.
And yeah, this isn't, hey, let me get my $2 hook back. This is, let me cut that line, get him out of there, and let's go back out. And all right, time to go eat your Wheaties and get ready. No points for shark, Peter. And again, you don't know oftentimes. It could have been anything from our championship, the championship fish, or it could have been a billfish. But at that point, when it feels like a log at the end of your line, you know it's not a billfish.
Yeah, a lot of times these sharks are slow and steady and just a lot of weight, just like Robbie mentioned. It's just heavy and it's just moving and it doesn't do much. And I've been fooled a few times by some big runs on some sharks and thought I had a big tuna or thought I had a big marlin on. But this is a little disheartening. It's exciting, and you know, I think this is something you're going to go through when you fish around the rigs, because you're going to have a lot of baits out and you have a lot of shots at big fish.
And, you know, different varieties of fish that they're looking at, the bait fish. But one thing is for certain, we're going to be seeing the billfish, both the Gulf as well as the Atlantic. Let's talk about the Atlantic for just a bit. Lesser in numbers, 4 standalone events. And we kick things off with St. Augustine, Florida, on the East Coast, the East Florida Blue Water Tournament. Again, they only have 4 opportunities. They have to qualify in at least 3 of them, and we'll talk about a wild card as well. But last year, Half a Buck taking the championship. We'll hope to see them. But they really dominated that event over Offshore Asset. Again, multiple teams we'll be looking at that tournament as well. We'll just hop from one stop to the other, moving on to Cape May, New Jersey. Moving up, you're kind of getting closer to your neck of the woods. You ever fished out of Cape May a time or 100?
Yeah, you remember Joe Piscopo said, I'm from Jersey, you from Jersey? So Cape May, New Jersey has an amazing fishery known for big blue marlin, big tunas. It's an amazing fishery, and I'm excited for that location, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, Cape May's definitely a fun one, and we move around. We're staying on the East Coast and staying on the upper East Coast. Martha's Vineyard, known for its tourism in the summer, but we're not talking about land-based stuff. We're talking about ocean-based stuff. And out there in the Atlantic, there are big fish and plentiful around Martha's Vineyard.
There's a lot of tuna out there, too. And guess what likes to eat tuna? Marlin. So we like to catch our tuna, and then the marlin like to catch the tuna as well. So a lot of times we'll be using those tuna we catch for marlin.
Catch a beast like that, boy, you have done something special. We move on to our next stop, the final stop, standalone event in Montauk, New York on Long Island. This will be the last event, the last standalone event on the East Coast for the Atlantic. We'll crown a champion, $100,000 on the line. This is a new tournament for us, but it's our final event of the year. It's kind of the Super Bowl for the Atlantic side.
That's a biggie. Montauk, again, an incredible fishery. I fished out there since I was a little kid. Land-based, went to the next level, never got to the marlin level, but I'm excited to see what these guys are going to bring in.
You also see a couple of dots down at the bottom of the screen. Those are our 2 international events in Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. We will talk about those. One a wild card. One would probably be more considered our Super Bowl. Robbie Floyd and Peter Miller here with you, our SFC studios. Well, we've seen a couple of catches. One was the right species, one was not the right species, and we'll break things down, and we also have somebody else. But, I mean, you've been doing this a long time. I mean, how do you pick a favorite stop when we have 11? But how do you pick a favorite talent who I'm partnering with? Is it Peter Miller? Is it Amanda? Is it Emily? The Gale Force twins you might be following over the past few years on social media, Facebook and YouTube. These ladies know their stuff. They've turned them and angled a little bit, but they know their stuff and educate people on how to do it, Peter.
I've had a chance to take those 2 girls fishing about 2 weeks ago. Got a doubleheader sailfish, and it was spectacular. We got drone footage that just killed.
When is my turn, Peter? That's what I want to know. You haven't taken me out for a sailfish, marlin, you name it. I'll go out there and catch tuna all day long. Ladies, welcome to the captains out there on the water, on site at Hurricane Hole. Welcome to the show. I know you just got in yesterday, but how are things? What were you able to find out, you know, after yesterday? We already saw a fish catch as we went off of there. Are things looking good in Louisiana?
It's great to be here. We just watching back Bandito lose that marlin was absolutely, I mean, we had goosebumps watching it. That was actually the first time the 2 of us got to see that footage. And wow,
I felt like I was on the edge of my seat watching it. It's really crazy.
I thought I was there in the cockpit, just like Peter was saying as well. But it's been great in Louisiana. We have beautiful weather out here. We got the sun shining. We have calm seas. I mean, the fish are biting, it looks like.
Okay, the big question is with you there, you're around the tournament officials. How frantic is it at times, you know, because they all have to call them in and everything. I want to remind everyone, everything we say is officially unofficial, but when you're hearing when a fish is on, we're actually hearing that at times when a fish is hooked up. That's not necessarily the same thing as when a fish is caught, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty hectic out here. We've got camera boats getting ready to go out and see what's going on, and you know,
everyone's watching the coordinates, trying to figure out where everybody is. The fish are always moving, so it's definitely an interesting thing to be watching from on site over here and seeing where the boats are moving.
I mean, tournament fishing, it's really a serious competition. Like you guys were saying, it's a sport. So people are out here and they are here to compete. We're here to land fish. There's multiple strategies. You might catch a blue marlin. Maybe your strategy is to go for the blue marlin, get that 350 points, but maybe your strategy is to go for the whites, or depending on what's biting, sometimes you have to change strategies just like you would in any game or sport.
You're exactly right. I mean, this isn't just fishing at all. This is a competition. These waters are our arena. And ladies, and Peter, I can probably ask you the same question. Are you hearing stuff on radio? Because you can have communications all around. Are you listening to the radio channels and hearing people talking about stuff? Because that's part of the program, right? I mean, it's one thing to have your preconceived notions of where these fish are or how the bait's working, but are you hearing people talk from boat to boat or even the platforms, or how is it like from there? Because we can't get that information.
Absolutely. I heard a lot of complaints about the weeds. There was lots of weeds out there, which makes the fishing that much more challenging because the weeds can get caught in your lines, and it just adds another element that you have to be prepared for or maybe change your tactic for.
And they've been saying we've got a lot of different, we've got green water or up against blue water. We've got some crazy currents. So we've been hearing as things come in what's going on, and it's been very intense out here.
You know, ladies, last time we saw each other, we were catching a doubleheader sailfish in some beautiful water, and you guys did an amazing job. And I'm wondering, are the guys talking about the types of water they're going to be looking for? Are they talking, hey, we got to find that purple water around the rigs, and if that rig doesn't have it, let's go to a different rig? What are they saying?
Yeah, actually, they have been saying that they've wanted to find that blue water, which is usually what they're looking for, but there have been some serious edges of green water coming out of the Mississippi. We've got the green water coming and pushing out a little bit further, it sounds like, and there have been a ton of bait in the green water. We were just talking to the captain of the camera boat this morning, who's a very experienced tournament fisherman, and he was telling us that don't be afraid of that green water. So I know that some of the boats are actually going and fishing that green water because we've got the bait in that water.
It starts with the plankton at the bottom of that food chain, and then it moves on to the bigger fish, the mahis, the tunas, and then the blue marlin will be there eating those.
It's like a double-edged sword. You know, you want to find that beautiful water, and a lot of times that beautiful water coincides with a sargassum weed, and the bait, like you said, we have the plankton and we have the shrimp and the crabs and everything's in there, so that's kind of like the conveyor belt of food. But with that, you're going to be hooking into a lot of weeds, and you got to keep clearing your baits and cleaning everything up. If you have a piece of weed on your hook, you will never get a marlin bite. It is official. Now, if it comes to red fishing, that's fine. You can have a big clump of grass on there, and they'll come up and eat it. But a blue marlin says, I see you, and it's not going to happen.
What about the locations, ladies, as far as we're not showing specifically, we're just showing general areas. Are the people there talking about they're surprised that these guys are making runs this far, or these are saying, you know, staying fairly close? Again, because everything you go out, you still have to come back and get in time for this tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, what they're doing for this tournament, since it's a little bit different, they don't have to come back in, and they don't have a lines out in the middle of the night, so they can stay out there for a very long time. So they're making some very long runs. We've got some people are fishing some canyons out there. They're on the oil rigs. So they're all fishing different areas, and we've actually been getting some GPS locations. You guys can see that as well of where they are, and different boats are in different areas. And as the weekend goes on, you're going to notice that maybe some people like to fish with the pack, is what we call it in the tournament world, where do you guys want to fish with the other boats, or do you want to go out on your own?
Yeah, that's going to be a thing. Thank you, ladies. We look forward to hearing from you later on today, as well as tomorrow on CBS Sports Network. Thank you. Have fun. Put some sunblock on. It looks like it's sunny there. Inside our studios, we'll only get blinded by these lights, these studio lights, Peter, and getting that knowledge out there and talking with the ladies, the green water, blue. You got me at purple water. And again, I've been around fishing, and I get the blue and the green. Purple water, what in the world are you talking about?
I'll tell you what, there's different levels of everything. If you're buying a diamond for your wife, you know, you're looking at this rating, this rating, this rating, this rating, and that rating. And you want to get to the specific color where you know the fish are going to be. So you go from like green to blue, or powder to blue, to like brilliant, brilliant blue, and all of a sudden you get to this like incredible place where the water is purple and it's popping and there's current and there's lots of bait. You're seeing stuff on the finder, and you know you've gotten to the right spot. And that's when you want to keep it quiet. You don't want to call anybody and tell anybody where you are. And you just start trolling, and before you know it, you're going to have a fish hooked up. And that's exactly what I did with the Gale Force twins. We went out fishing. We put out the kites, And I said, no, we got to go a little further south. I see some purple water. And we slid out to this purple water. And the second we did, double header sailfish, and it was spectacular.
Hammer time, and you got to quit talking about taking the ladies out fishing. But I want to go bill fishing, and I'm not in part of this SFC tournament. But in the Sport Fishing Championship, it's all about points. This is a competition where you're trying to get the max points at each and every stop. 350 for the blue marlin, but 100 bonus points for the first marlin caught. It's very important, and not all of these species are necessarily in these specific waters. They're not at this time of year. Maybe they might be moving in and out. But again, the blue marlin's the biggest, baddest. We give them the most points.
You're exactly right, Robbie. And the white marlin is not that prevalent in this area, whereas the blue marlin is. And the championship division is mahi-mahi, yellowfin tuna, and wahoo. And these are all worth $50,000 per. And these are fish that are usually found in these waters and throughout all the waters that they're going to be fishing.
It's not just, it's the Invincible Boats yellowfin. They are the title sponsor of our yellowfin. You're exactly right. $50,000 at the end of the season. Whoever has the biggest single yellowfin, again, we're going to crown a winner in each one of those at all 11 stops. Whoever has the biggest single yellowfin will win that $50,000. Same goes to wahoo. Same goes to what was our mahi-mahi, our third championship. All right, Rising Sun, Southern Charm, and Bandito are in the same general area. Let's take a look at Rising Sun yesterday. We heard word from them, and it was a good word from them, I believe. Not positive about them. You see the captain, Jim Crochet, first mate, Pip. That's all I'm going to say. Pip, and 8 different members on that. And that is determined by that captain and crew. You could have 4, you could have 8. It's whatever feels right for you. And it also gives some time to rest as well for others.
Yeah, you're gonna want a lot of guys because when stuff happens, as you saw in some of the other videos, everyone's got to be at attention working on these rods, bringing baits in, teasing the fish back up, clearing the deck, moving this, spinning the boat. There's a lot of things that need to happen when that elusive blue marlin shows up in your spread. I would rather have 6, 7, 8 guys in the cockpit when that happens.
And they're on a 58-foot Viking. Inboard motor looking up at those big platforms and oil rigs. There's a difference. One's grounded, one's floating, but they are big structures either way out there in the water. And, oftentimes you can recognize certain areas and stuff. And either way, when you're fishing here in Louisiana, you see them casting out, trying to catch these bait fish. It's very centric. And those birds are hanging around for a reason. A lot of people don't even understand that.
Yeah, I mean, you got these, what that guy just caught there looked like a blue runner or some kind of jack,
right.
And they're going to put those in the tuna tubes because you can't pass up jacks for tuna because you may not find the tunas to catch the marlin. So they're stopping here, they're catching jacks on the way, and those birds are picking off whatever the jacks are eating, which is probably smaller baits.
Going through the chain, right?
Exactly. The food chain is always going there at the rigs.
I'm a blue runner catching machine. I just want you to know, if I ever go out with you, I'm your bait guy.
Okay.
I'm not talking about baiting. I'm the one that catches the bait. That's where my extent stops.
So what you're saying is you're a master.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But blue runners are good. It reminds me of some lake fishing that I've done. But this is part of the program. Before you go out there, now we'll see guys with artificial stuff. Fish like fish. They pick it up. They've got pretty good eyesight. They'll catch something that doesn't look right in the water. So they need something that looks right when they're trolling.
Oh yeah, and you want your bait to be as fresh as possible. You see these guys bringing them in right now, and you're going to typically use a dehooker, which he's using. You're not going to touch the bait. You don't want fingerprints. You don't want the pH level of your hand.
The slime layer. You don't want to rub it off.
Exactly. If you see fingerprints on a bait or you see anything that doesn't look right, I'm not going to deploy that bait.
What about the size of the bait? You just got to kind of run what you have. Are you looking for a particular size? Do you want a bigger bait? Do you want maybe tuna in there that are a little bit larger than some of those smaller blue runners, or do you want a variety?
I want a variety of baits, and a lot of times you want to match the hatch. If you're going out marlin fishing and you see a school of 40-pound tunas busting on the surface, I'd love nothing more than to put 40-pound tuna out there, bridle it through the eye sockets with a circle hook, pop it out there.
But again, you're not necessarily trying to catch those tuna. You're trying to put your tuna out there in those tuna, and the marlin come up there and do the whack-a-matic. Let's find out where our other teams are. They're spread around these areas. Again, a vast expanse. You see the contour change. They're looking for something specific. We've talked about some of the currents. The ladies talked about the current coming from the Mississippi River, the Delta. There's where you get some water change as well.
You're not kidding. These drop-offs right here look incredibly good to fish. I mean, it's so hard to pick a spot. That's when you're going to start looking for water. You got your contours, but then you want to see your watercolor, your clarity, your water temperature breaks. You're going to look at, you know, the bathymetric charts, obviously, and then you're going to use satellite imagery to find the currents and to find what's going on out there. There's a lot of technology to assist these fishermen.
Well, let's take a look ahead. Our Smith Optics look ahead, and not at this event, but our look ahead to next event at the Dominican Republic, a different fishery. It's stop number 2, and this will be a wild card event. You can either be fishing the Atlantic Division or the Gulf Division, and you can't get points for both. But if I'm fishing Gulf, I want to head over this week. I need to get there quick. If I'm fishing the Atlantic, I want to start there and set the tone for the rest of the year.
You know, Dominican Republic is an incredible fishery. I fished there probably 50, 60 times, and we've never gone without a marlin bite of some sort. You go to a certain area for blue marlin, you go to a certain area for white marlin, and then there's a sailfish area. So you can get a grand slam on any given day in the Dominican Republic.
And as far as the water is concerned, you and I talked off air, and these are our results from last year. High points, we do have tiebreakers, or they have tiebreakers for their individual results. We have tiebreakers in the Sport Fishing Championship as well. But you talked about how the seas are a little bit different. It probably will not be calm like we've seen today. You're going to see some more rocky water in the DR. But then we move on to our next stop, our last stop. This will be where we will crown our champion, our $1 million prize winner. Again, we'd already crowned our Gulf and our Atlantic Division winners, and we're also seeing some different bait presentation here in the PR.
That's right. That's the dredge. We have a dredge cam in there, so we get to see the marlin actually bite, not live. But we look at the footage on the way in, so that's really cool to see the marlin come up, and you know they're going 7, 8 knots. Those marlin are coming up and just coasting, looking at that, getting teased up.
Don't you bring knots to me. I don't want to see knots in my shoes. I want miles per hour. I don't want to do the math. But here is the Sport Fishing Championship. 11 events, 2 different divisions. You got to fish at least 3, whether it be the Gulf or the Atlantic. If you fish, say 5, we still take your best 3, but we do add up the championship points as well from all of the events. And again, we will crown a champion, a $1 million prize winner in Puerto Rico this morning. This is what it looked like. Again, Rising Suns released a blue marlin at 8:22. So we do have Rising Suns with a catch this morning, but Donkadunk, they lost one at the boat. That's heartbreaking because, again, like Fog Cutter, who actually released a blue marlin, received these points, but Donkadunk, they get it to the boat, but it wasn't a qualified catch.
Yeah, that's a tough break. When you have a marlin at the boat and it's close and you're just about to leader, it truly is a game of inches. You know, you could be 1 inch from grabbing that leader, but you can't touch that main line. You know, you got to touch that leader, and if you don't touch the leader, it doesn't count. So that's an unfortunate moment for them.
This is our Friday update. This morning, things are happening, and that's what you want. They actually fished overnight. Again, looking for different species. We will talk about that, but it's about the platforms, about the rigs. These are massive structures out there in the Gulf, thousands, but that doesn't mean all of them hold the right stuff. We will break it down a little bit more for you in just a bit. How you feeling, Peter? I mean, we're seeing fish catches, we're seeing some losses, we're seeing shark, we're seeing it all, but we're doing it here as quick as we can from the Sport Fishing Championship.
I'm getting really excited about the fact that there's fish coming in. It's kind of building and developing, and I absolutely love what I'm seeing.
Peter's our guru. He's going to break down the individual species, but also some of the techniques of the Sport Fishing Championship. A lot of ways to catch these billfish, and we'll break them down.
The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation is honored to be the official charity of the Sports Fishing Championship. Through this partnership and the support of donors like you, future generations will enjoy and benefit from a naturally balanced ocean ecosystem. Our education programs, both in the classroom and online, bring to life the work needed to make sure we have clean oceans for decades to come. Join us today at www.ghof.org.
Serious. You are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
It's the simple things, like spending a day at the beach, splashing in the water, playing in the sand, and creating sandcastle masterpieces. Rediscover fun and family on the beautiful white sand beaches of Gulf Shores and Orange Beach.
SFC coverage of the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic is brought to you by Invincible Boats, Centered Wellness, and by the Louisiana Office of Tourism.
Robbie Floyd and Peter Miller with you here in our SFC studios. I thought about that Office of Tourism I just heard about. They're going to be getting more and more people here. They see what we're doing. They're going to be heading down to the Sportsman's Paradise, the Gulf Coast, Grand Isle, and Venice, Louisiana. So, Peter, we've seen heartbreak, but we've also heard of fish catches, and that's what it's all about in the bill fishing world. Is you're going to have both. You have to live with both. It's just like a football game. Not every pass is going to be caught.
That's exactly right, Robbie. And these fish are sometimes it's a shallow hookup. Sometimes it's wrapped around their bill. Sometimes it goes through their mouth, around the top of their dorsal, and actually lassos them. So that could be an interesting way to hook a fish.
Now, the 100-point bonus for our first marlin. We had word that we did have a blue marlin caught yesterday as we were going off of air, but you see, you get the most points for that blue marlin. White marlin a little bit less. Is it generally you think that they do it like that, and we talked about it off air, is it generally because they're smaller species, they're easier, they're quicker to get in, or they're typically more plentiful, they're grouped up more? Why would you see a variance in the points?
Well, the marlin is kind of like the needle in the haystack, and when you do get everything, you have to be firing on all cylinders, and everything has to go right. A white marlin's a little more forgiving.
Okay.
You know, you come through a school of white marlin, you know, they're much quicker fight. Sometimes they're 60, 70 pounds. You get them to the boat pretty quickly. You turn the boat and back up to them, and it looks a lot easier than blue marlin fishing, and it is a lot easier than blue marlin fishing. However, the white marlin are very smart.
And they're all in this area, but not as many white marlin for the Gulf of Mexico in this portion of the body of water that they're fishing in. And the Gulf Coast, you talked earlier, said it can be 100,000 feet as far as I care. They're not going to be looking for fish that deep. But again, 1,000 fairly tight, 5,000 medium range, probably about 200 miles out or so. But you see various contours. You see steeper drops in areas than others. Some are going to be looking for those deep drops. Some might be just looking for more of those humps and lesser drops at times, right?
You're right, and it's also going to be those temperature breaks and those thermoclines, and they're going to be looking at the satellite imagery to find that good water. They're going to be using their binoculars to find birds, but they really want to find the spot that looks the best for them, and they'll also have some footage.
Blue marlin. Let's talk about them. They are the biggest, the baddest. They're the king of the jungle. I don't know if they're the lion or they're the silverback gorilla, but this is the bad boy that everybody's searching for.
That's true. The blue marlin is an absolute beast. I've caught a couple hundred of them, and I've ranging from 50 pounds to 650 pounds, and you got to really put your back into it when you're hooked up with one of those.
The world record, maybe, just maybe it'll happen, over 1,000 pounds for these bad boys. But the white marlin, a different story, a little bit lesser points, but much smaller.
Yeah, the white marlin is typically you're going to get them, 50, 60, 80. That's a really nice size white marlin. So to have a world record of 181, that's truly incredible. That's a giant white marlin.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But the possibilities are there. Again, you see records being broke all the time, and maybe it's our turn. It could happen. The spearfish, a little bit different. Again, you see the dorsal fins and the way that they're shaped. A lot of people can't identify one from the other, especially the marlin. To me, kind of look the same. Spearfish, you should be able to understand with that fin running down a little bit more down his back.
Yeah, and they're really prevalent in Hawaii, for instance. I caught a couple my first day there, and they were really cool looking. And now we have the sailfish, which is my favorite fish because we catch them all year long in in Miami. And they swim in schools, they swim in packs, they use their dorsal fin to corral the baits. As you see here on the footage, they got a school of sardines above them, and they all come up and take turns. They whack them with their bill, they knock them out, and then they use their bill to guide it down into their mouth, and then they swim off and they get another one.
In the final of our billfish, again, these are pretty big fish, so I don't get less 75 points, but the world record's over 1,000 pounds. These can be monsters.
Oh, they are monsters, and they are the meanest of the bunch. If you jump in the water with a swordfish at the boat, it will attack you. It will attack you. They're sore. They're gladiators of the sea. That's what we're going to call these big boys. And when they come up, they will attack you for sure. And their bills are wide, they're sharp, and they are whipping back and forth. And this one's down deep. You can see that.
Yeah, and they have that dorsal fin where it looks more like a shark. So every time I see one of these, I'm going to think shark, stay away. I'll keep it on the line, but you are not getting it anywhere near me. Bandito yesterday, we saw them miss one yesterday. That was unfortunate for them. Let's check out their setup. Again, it's all about the preparation and what they have to work with on this vessel. Let's take a look at Bandito. In the area of the body of water that they're looking at, and this is not in a specific area. We're just showing you generalizations that they were dealing with. All right, now as far as this boat, out trolling at this point, right? They're searching. Of course, there's always somebody looking out visibly, but they're trying to look for stuff down below, and that sonar telling them what's underneath, right?
That's exactly it. They're in a 65 Jim Smith, beautiful boat, beautiful platform. And Captain Chad Solomon, first mate Shane O'Neill. They got 3 anglers on the boat, and it is a beautiful boat. These guys are going to be working the rigs, I imagine. They're going to be using live baits, they're going to be using lures, and they're going to be basically trying to win this tournament like everybody is, and they know what they're doing. They've been doing it their whole lives.
Well, there's something artificial there. That's not a live bait fish. That's part of the program.
Correct. You want to have a full schmear, as they say. You've got teasers, lures, and you always got your backup live bait. But you want to cover ground when you're using those lures, because you can go 10, I'll say miles per hour before you're out.
Yeah, do it. It makes it easier.
Yeah. So 10 miles per hour, you can rip to the next location, but you can't do that with live bait. Live bait, you're bumping in and out of gear, so you're not covering a lot of ground.
Now that bait, it's multiples there in a row. They're trying to imitate like a school, right?
Exactly.
These are followers.
Yep. That's called a teaser chain, and those are like little birds that are skipping on the surface. And at the end, you'll have a lure with a mackerel or a mullet or a big horse ballyhoo with no hook in it. So if a marlin does come up and they get attracted to that, they're going to take a bite out of that end one that has the bait in it, get a little squeeze of juice in there, and it'll fire them up. And that's why some of these marlin will hit 5, 6, 7 baits, because they got that taste on that first bite.
So the teaser chain itself, or the one that we were looking at, that's not imitating individual bait that are in the water, but the birds that are diving for that bait, or kind of a mixture of both. They're just trying to confuse the fish. Right?
Yeah, they're making a commotion. So the bird kind of rattles on the surface of the water. And they have a mahi there?
Yeah, it looked like. I saw green pop up. Again, it's down below the rod holders there, but I think that would be a mahi-mahi. I don't think that's going to win the mahi division, but that is a species we're looking for. That's a championship fish. The championship division between the mahi-mahi, the yellowfin tuna, as well as the wahoo. Those are the 3 that they're looking for, kind of a subspecies.
Yeah, and you know, the mahi-mahi, they say it's so nice they named it twice, mahi-mahi. And they look at that, they put it in the tuna tube. I caught my first blue marlin on my own boat with a mahi as bait. And I bridled it through the eye sockets, put it out, and a marlin came up and scarfed it down. And that was the marlin that was actually lassoed.
You're seeing these boats working their ways around those outriggers. You see the artificial baits that are down outside that lane and at different depths. Welcome everybody inside our studio. Peter, it's good seeing things out on the water. This has all happened within the past 24 hours, and we try and bring it to everybody as live as possible, and our goal is to do that. Technology will help us with that as we move along. I remember several different sports. I mean, think of that zip cam, in football games that happen, and technology's catching up, and we're getting it fast, but we actually have guys out on the water. Can you imagine not actually fishing in the tournament and having to sit there and shoot guys fishing in the tournament the entire time without ever having to put a line in?
Is that why my camera crew hates me on my show?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it is. Thanks for bringing that to my attention.
It's all good. I'm here for you, buddy. And one thing that the fans we want to let you know is I'm going to give him as hard a time as possible until he takes me fishing. And again, it's not just fishing. It's about catching. And we have misses. It happens time. Let's take a look at the fish catch earlier until it wasn't. Again, this is Team Bandito. And the things that they're looking at, now that's not a rig or a platform. That looks like the starting point to a rig or a platform.
You're right. That's probably the crew boat taking the people out there and bringing them out to the platforms.
And again, this was yesterday, Team Bandito. We were hearing some hookups early on, and this shows you the drama that these guys are dealing with searching for these billfish.
Which one? He's on this side. He's on. He's right behind you.
All right, hold on. I see, we see him in blue. It's a blue, it's a blue.
He's a big one. Come on, it's a trap. Bring it off. Bring that short in.
Bring the short in some.
He's on the corner. He's on the corner. Yeah. I know. He's on it, baby.
Let him eat.
Right behind the boat. He's on it, Peter. We're on him. We got him. Drop it off. Don't worry. There he is, right there on the shore. No. What do y'all want? Let's get it. Wait for it. He's right on the shore. Don't reel it. Leave it. He's gonna get it, Corky.
He's eating it. He's eating it now.
He is all over them. Reel it. All right, stop. He's still on.
He's on the short.
Get a crank, Corky. Get ready.
Why are we not feeding line bait back to him, or bait back to him?
Clips on these, not a reel. See, nothing.
We lost him. He's still there. He's on it. He's out. He's on the left rigger. He's on it. He's on. Get that teaser in. He's not on now. He's still on. He's still on the long. He's on the long.
Get him. We got his ass. Get ready.
All right, he's on. Let's clear. All right, clear.
Keep going, Chad.
He's on.
Hit the teaser. Keep going, Chad. Come on. We're off.
Still on, Court?
Come on, guys. We got to do better.
God, how we missed him?
Wow, that's unfortunate. I mean, it's tough times. The first event of the year, and you want to start off with a big billfish, and it looks like you have a blue marlin on, but weren't able to keep it on and register as a catch. And we're looking at our 8 boats that are out there that took off from Grand Isle and Venice yesterday. This is our second day of competition, but Southern Charm, another one to be looking at. And Peter, it's not just about billfish. They aren't the only fish in the sea. Sometimes you catch something you don't want. I think that may be the case with these guys, and we've seen it already with other teams.
That's for sure. This boat right here is a 63-foot Hatteras, a beautiful platform. And, there's a lot of bait out here. There's a lot of fish. There's always a ton of sharks. It's very rare to catch a shark when you're trolling for marlin, I got to tell you. That's not something you see every day. So it makes me feel like they were using a live bait of some sort. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, Landon Bell again taking off. There you see the different movement. You're seeing some maybe familiar boats. Is it the same boat that we saw out there in the water from the last shots from Bandito? Again, a lot of these look the same, but either way, you're seeing them reeling in these bait fish, trying to get them on board because bigger and better things lie ahead for them. One of the things, again, you have to have the bait. Maybe you do catch a big yellowfin tuna while you're doing this in some of those subspecies, like we already saw the mahi-mahi. But we heard long lines, short lines. They're at different lengths out there. The misses, the teasers, there's a lot going on. It's a dance that's happening, and we saw that earlier with Bandito.
It's like you said, it's a dance. It's a ballet of emotions, if you will. And when you're getting these baits in the boat, it's so important to get them in and use those rubber-coated nets and get them directly into those bait tubes. And you want to catch smaller baits to catch these bigger baits, which are going to ultimately catch you that prize blue marlin, that 350-point Grandioso.
Again, those are the tubes that they pull them out of. They're living in very oxygenated water. They're kept at the right temp. Everything to keep those fish as pristine as possible and put them in those individual tubes. And again, we've seen various size baits go in there as well. It's not, I mean, you put your big boys on one side or the other. We see down at the bottom them swimming around it. It's like a live well, but easy access.
Yeah, the bait well systems on these boats are very, very important. You want a little something for everybody. On my boat, I've got 2 bait wells for regular size baits, and then I have tuna tubes off the back, which have their own pump system, keeping them alive all day long. And they're already pre-rigged. So when you see that fish come up, you can deploy that bait instantly. It already has the hook, the bridle through the eye socket, and you're ready to go. All circle hooks.
Okay, when you get to this point, fish is on. I mean, when you lock in, we're at go time. We're already hooked up. Now you're prepared for the battle. What could be the battle of your life?
That's correct. Yeah, he's in the chair. He's strapped in. You don't know if you have a 200-pounder or if you have a 600, 700, 800-pounder. It could be a bluefin tuna. You never know what it is. So it's best to be prepared and ready for combat, which they are. He's about to grab the leader there. Leader man. You want to keep your knees under the gunnel. You want to stay low. Always keep a little bend in your elbows in case the fish comes up jumping. You don't want to pop the arms out of your sockets. It's a real deal.
I'm learning stuff here. I'm learning stuff. I definitely don't need that to happen. But again, that was a case of a shark being on the line and losing it right there at the boat. They didn't want to catch that shark. That's not what they're fishing for. But Hurricane Hole, it is beautiful, majestic, and it is brand new. And that's because last year, not even a year ago, Hurricane Ida devastated this area in the southern part of Louisiana, and they built it back bigger and better. But Hurricane Ida, it devastated this place.
We've never seen anything like Hurricane Ida here in Grand Isle. Wind speeds were clocked in at over 200 miles per hour. You can see if you travel down LA1 that there are many homes that there's nothing left but pilings. Sand covered the roads, and I think for me personally, what really hit the heart is when you speak to someone who's lived here their entire life, for them to tell you how when they arrived back on the island after the storm, that they couldn't even find their own street. The landmarks were all gone, and they were lost on their own island, some people. So that hit the heart. The rebuild's exciting. Don and Sammy Hargroder have been the first ones out every morning, working on the facility, and the last one's in every night.
We had not gotten hit by anything like this. Little storms come through, 2, 3s, you know, but this particular storm, they say it's a 4, I think it's all of a 5, and if they had a 6, I believe it's, from some of the stuff we found going through this place. It was like going into a war zone. I mean, that's the only way I could really describe it, just a war zone. No type of utilities at all, not even communication. All the cell towers were gone. No water, no sewage, no electricity, no natural gas. I started coming here about 40 years ago and just got really attached to this island and the people of this island. Great people, great friends, and very resilient people. You know, a lot of people got knocked on their rear, and I think it's a big boost for the whole island.
This tournament and this moment is very, very special. And this is the season kickoff, as well as the very first event of the Sports Fishing Championship. We recognize that we're making history and we're a part of it. And we couldn't be more excited to host all of our anglers for the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic.
Over 100 fatalities. I mean, it was devastating, that area. And look at it now. It's unbelievable what they did.
Yeah, they're very resilient in Grand Isle. I'll tell you what, well, I've shot a couple shows there, and when I got there, they had just suffered another hurricane, and they still had mud and dirt and debris everywhere. But they were so proud of how they rebuilt it so quickly, and they're ready to go. We had friends saying, hey, stay at our place. It's up on stilts. Everything's up on stilts, obviously, because that water comes in and it rushes through. And these stilts are kind of bendable and movable because they have to be with these storms coming through all the time, and the water rushes under these homes. But they rebuild. And then all of a sudden, a month later, I left there, and they were already rebuilt, and then here comes Ida.
Yeah,
knocked them down again,
that's unbelievable.
And now they're back again, and here we are.
200 miles an hour plus. That's what he's saying. It was a Category 4 if it could have been a Category 6. I mean, how do you stand through that? It looked like a bomb blew that place up, and it's just tough. But again, they keep coming back, and that's what we're here to present, and we're just showing everybody what it can be like, and they are doing it. And Mr. Hargroder, hats off to you, my man. I mean, they really turned that place around. It looks awesome.
That's for sure. They are the most resilient group I've ever seen. They rebuild and they start fresh. It seems like every 6 months to a year, they're doing something, and they love their fishing.
From snap trees and devastated house, you're seeing green grass and trees now. Everything is coming back to life at Grand Isle. This is the first stop of the Sport Fishing Championship. We've got billfish on the line, several species. We saw a mahi-mahi catch. A couple of shark that we don't want to really talk about. Nobody wants to catch a shark. They don't count for points. But again, the Sport Fishing Championship, it's a kickoff, our inaugural year, and we're in Louisiana doing it, and we're bringing it to you as live as we can today. Day 2 of our 3-day tournament here in Venice and Grand Isle. Stick with us.
A day out on the water could go great. Or it could have a few minor setbacks. Things could get rough. Or you could lose that $900 smartphone. Whatever the problem, Yugo provides unmatched premium protection for any water sports adventure. Yugo. To get yours, visit YugoWear.com or simply scan the QR code on the screen. And remember, just add water.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm talking about!
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
So, you want this, but you can't have it without this, or this, or this. Until now, introducing a new way to travel, intranationally. Get all that international charm without ever leaving the country. Right here in St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Get all that culture, all the cuisine from that culture. You're welcome. All the gram-worthy sites from that hashtag culture. It's right here at home. St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra. Travel intranationally.
SFC coverage of the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic is brought to you by Garmin, the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation, and by St. Augustine and St. Johns County, Florida's historic coast.
The boats taking off yesterday from Grand Isle and Venice, Louisiana, the first day of the first tournament. First tournament ever, the Sport Fishing Championship, the Louisiana Gulf Coast Billfish Classic, highlighting these big tournaments from around North America and international waters. Welcome everyone inside our SFC set. I'm Robbie Floyd. He's the man, the offshore man, Peter Miller. Welcome inside our studios. And it feels different watching these guys from an outside perspective because so many times you're that guy that's out there on the water doing all of this stuff. But if you were able to join us yesterday, you would have seen the Sky Elements drone show 2 nights ago. Thank you, Louisiana, because it was a great kickoff to the Sport Fishing Championship. I've never seen a drone show, but they're showing marlin, they're showing anglers, a lot of cool stuff.
And I think people need to understand that these are not just lights that are hung from strings. These are actual
Right.
drones with lights, and they're actually choreographed perfectly to show you these incredible scenes.
We're going to work on getting Ben Oliver, our drone pilot at the SFC. He can zoom in and out of that marlin. That'd be awesome. Maybe make him look like a bait, and we can even add an extra little flavor for them. Again, the Sky Elements drone show 2 nights ago at Hurricane Hole right above. And you know the people that live there might not have known that was happening. I'm sure they did. But when they look up in the sky and they see that marlin, great googly moogly. Hundreds, it looks like, of drones there just for that SFC logo and looking out through that peninsula. Again, down at the bottom of the Louisiana Delta where the Mississippi River meets the Gulf of Mexico. And again, the Gale Force Twins, we talked to them earlier, talking about how some of that different water transitions into the Gulf. It's all just a factor that these anglers have to deal with. Not only these anglers, these competitors, but it's not always about the competition, Peter. It's also about conservation. These are catch and release for the Sport Fishing Championship, and that's part of our SFC Conservation Spotlight, the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation. It's a big part of the Sport Fishing Championship because it's about learning about these
fish. A key role, leaving it behind to the next generation. You know, I would like to see my kids get to grow up and enjoy the sport.
For conservation, our goal is to always leave as many fish as we can. We don't want to bring fish back to the dock that aren't going to be something that's going to really be a winner. So we are very, very determined to try to release as many fish as we can.
It's a big deal to us and our team to conserve this fishery. I've got 2 small children I hope one day I can take out there.
As far as any fishery, I hope my kids have, plenty of fish to catch. So we're from the northern Gulf Coast and, especially blue marlin, and I think the blue marlin stock is very good right now.
Leaving this fishery to the next generation, I think we've done a phenomenal job now. Only a few fish are taken every year for tournaments, and those are the larger of the fish.
As boats run out to their spots, it is about conservation, and I'd like to thank the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation. Click on that link there. It'll tell you more and how to donate. Again, it's a great program. Guy was personally down at the Miami Boat Show with us and proud to be a part of the Sport Fishing Championship. And you're an angler. You've been there. You've done that. It's about the opportunity, like for my kids, for your kids to go out there and catch these fish someday.
That's exactly right. We want conservation to be in the forefront of all of these big events because without it, we're not going to be able to sustain what we love to do.
Looking out at the boats, again, we are covering 8 different boats and not talking exactly in specifics, but the general areas that they are in. And you have the opportunities to get the varying terrain, the water temps, and you touched on that just a moment ago. You mentioned thermocline. I know what a thermocline is. Explain to the rest of the fans, because does it deal with the canyons? Does it deal with the winds? I mean, how does the thermocline play a factor, and how do you recognize it?
Well, it's basically a major temperature break subsurface. So as you're riding along, you're not going to be marking anything, and all of a sudden you'll see this clutter on your screen, and you know for a fact that giant line, that giant thickness of line on your screen is actually a different temperature. And in that different temperature, you're going to find baits. You're going to find fish that want to cruise near it.
We have some updates for you as well this morning. Yesterday we heard fish catches. Today we'd have as well some illegal catch. Some are catch, but they unintentionally released, I guess. How do you too?
Yeah, unfortunately some of them came off right at the boat, but we've got Rising Suns released a blue marlin at 8:22. Badonkadonk lost a marlin at the boat at 9:07, and Fog Cutter released a blue marlin at 9:09.
Again, these are our morning updates, and we have 8 boats out of the water that we'll be getting you the footage from today. We'll be showing it to you tomorrow. We'll try and put more stuff together for our afternoon as well. But again, the playing field is expansive. And again, we can relay some of this stuff possibly from the oil rigs. We can bounce back stuff. If not, just think if these boats took 3 hours to get out, well, our boats coming back with the footage still have to come 3 hours back in. So it's not an easy task bringing you this stuff, but we're doing our best to bring it to you as quick as possible. It is a 3-day tournament. We, of course, we're on Facebook Live. We're on sportfishingchampionship.com always at any given moment, except for Sunday. But again, our programming is going to be vast. Each one of these stops are going to be varying, hours. We might be on at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, but we're going to be on all 3 days.
And our whole deal is to be able to bring you all these fish catches and anything exciting. We want to show you everything we got.
8 o'clock tomorrow Eastern on sportfishingchampionship.com, 5 p.m. Eastern. Actually, tomorrow, there it is, CBS Sports Network at 9 o'clock in the morning. Again, you can check out sportfishingchampionship.com.
How exciting is that to be on CBS Sports Live at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning for 2 hours? Boy, if I was a kid, I'd be sitting home watching this, and here we are doing it.
We're going to try and bring you everything we possibly can. All these these competitors are looking for the elusive billfish, the big blue marlin. They've been caught. We're going to try and show it to you. We've had some hits, we've had some misses, but things are really firing up. Day number 2. Peter Miller, I'm Robbie Floyd. Thanks for watching the Sport Fishing Championship. We'll see you again this afternoon.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in. Plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
Sport fishing anglers from around the world competing for $1 million. The Sport Fishing Championship on CBS Sports Network.
Comes back to the water. This binding agent, this fluid history of connection, past, present, and future, all tied together through this never-ending, unwavering force. We belong to a community of seekers, anglers, and everyone in between. For us, it's more than fishing, much more. It's who we are, who we were, and who we aspire to be. We are Smith.